Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our Equine family in Town Hall number 42. It's the 10th of December, and we're happy to bring to you the latest updates on equine development. And I'm joined by fence maker and Marek.
Hi everyone.
Fence maker pulled off the usual freeze frame on the first second, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder if it's a firewall issue or something else. So as usual, we'll wait a few minutes until people join, but we have quite a few interesting things to share. Hire creator, including quite a busy AMA section, I expected, because there's been quite a few questions. Not yet a game demo. Not yet there, unfortunately. I agree. We do have a few things to share, though. Hi, Miran. How are you guys all doing? I hope you're all getting ready for those nice holiday vacations or holiday period, let's say break periods. Hi, ladies. Hi, 5 hacks or shacks. So we'll be starting in a minute. It's a 5-minute mark. I was working on this demo, which I'll share in a bit, and also on Discord, which uses the Cornelius theme. It's kind of got stuck in my mind. I can't wait for those songs to start playing on people's browsers. Okay, so we're at the 5-minute mark, and I suppose we can start. So what's happening today, there's a usual lineup of starting with some audio visual updates, dev updates, marketing updates, and then AMA section. Just a little bit of high level. Let's update if it helps everyone tuning in or is interesting. I think as we approach the end of the year, I have to say I was at least personally really hoping we could bring something to the 2-year anniversary from a release point of view. Unfortunately, there have been a few surprises here and there that come in between us and achieving that, including some critical team member changes that have happened over the past month and that we've successfully managed to navigate through. Now, on the bright side, I would say timeline aside, I think if we can have a bit of patience on the release schedule or timeline, I would say we have a lot of very positive breakthroughs otherwise in all aspects, including our path towards, let's say, sustained development and the development team that can take us forward. So there's been, I think, a lot of reliefs and a lot of the challenges we've had, including in the MA, there are some questions we'll reach to later on about funding, etc. But I think, as you guys might have seen how the markets have been moving, we've also had some relief in that aspect where it helps our development effort and the sustainability. So just as a big picture, I would say timeline or schedule aside, we've found a good spot where we're getting back that momentum and traction towards reaching that release target. So that's a bit of a high level. And on the specifics, I would say on the audio visual side, our rider animation generator or generation, which we've mentioned earlier, we refer to it as the animation pipeline, is actually completed already. For the main jockeys, it was successful. It gives us the output we need. It took a lot of back and forth, some tweaking here and there, but we really like the outcome so far. We've shared a few sneak peeks in our Discord earlier over the past few days. And some, let's say, very avid horse viewers still had some comments, which I'm proud of having community members who care about that level of detail. And yeah, we hope to aspire to perfection there. For the time being, I think it's really looking good. We'll share a little bit from this if it plays well here, but we'll also share it in a better form on Discord and Twitter after, or X, after the stream. So it's good. It's looking really great. And the next steps, we have some accessory behavior that's not so great. The bridle and the reins sometimes move, let's say, through the animation where it clips through the horse body and stuff. So we asked our animator to clean that up a bit, but that shouldn't take too long. And the development of support for other jockey models. So the jockey skins, for example, and having those supported in all the riding animations. We're not sure how well supported they'll be off the bat using the same script. We expect some tweaks will still be necessary. But that is one of the next steps that we'll take. Sound effect assets have already been completed. They're ready to be implemented, as in we have the sound files, but they need to be put in the right places. But they've been changed twice, and now we have something we're happy with. The intro cards and the scene sequence for the intro have both been implemented, but they're without horses, without the jockey walk animation. We have the assets as we generate from the script you mentioned earlier, but they haven't been implemented on that part. And some of the data, actually most of the data there has not been linked to the race data. So we'll also do that. So it's about implementing our next, let's say, big steps are the implementing the race results sequence, which is, so we have 4 actually sequences. First, there's the overall map, kind of looking at the map, Yara Gardens, in this case, the track. And then the next step is the intro sequence, which is what I just mentioned, showing all the horses participating. And then number 3 is the race, the actual race sequence. And number 4 is the race ending, the results, right? So implementing the race results sequence is the next, and tying everything together. There's a bit of work still needed on the camera system, but these are the main parts that need work, I'd say. So I'm not sure how good the frame rate will be on this. So I'll share this here, and then I'll also share this on Discord directly so you guys can play them there. So this is the walk, showing all jockeys and how they're supported with the animations. It's hot here. There's the canter. The gallop. This is a fast gallop. So I'm not sure how clear that was, but we're going to share it in a better quality. Obviously, this is a beauty render. This took about 24 hours to render on my rig. So it's not real time. It's not going to be the same game engine quality, but it's a reference material. So we have the files, the assets that we're using in Unity, and then from Unity, it's going to go to Babylon. We'll share with you guys also how it looks in engine. I know that a lot of people are anxious about how that's going to look, but it's meant to demonstrate really the animation quality, at least at this stage, that we're striving for. And yeah, this is that clip. The fast gallop is a transition basically towards end of races, etc. when the jockeys are riding out the horses. There's one more comment, I think, about the riders. Yeah, one of the other things is like the animators and some of the game devs suggested that we should just simplify by having the same jockey body and just using that and changing the colors, etc. And knowing that we have jockey skins also coming up, we kind of insisted on being able to support different proportions and supporting those. So that's one thing. And the other thing was, sorry, I don't want to play this. I want to go to the next slide. So this is a screenshot from the race intro sequence. And as you guys can see, like this is from the engine, and without grass turned on, it's turned off here. But this is from the engine as it's implemented right now. So this is supposed to have a background color. The render is supposed to show the correct jockey. This is where the horse name is gonna show. This is what it loads now because they're not named, but this is what there's there. And then this is supposed to show the jockey name between parentheses, the personality type, the stable name, the guild name, the racing form, the weight in case of handicaps and racing points, RPs. Skip intro button to skip all of the intros and go straight to the racing sequence. So this is an in-engine screenshot. Obviously, there should be a walking horse here with the jockey. So once we have that, that's going to show us here as well. There's a bit of cleanup on the asset on the scene area here, but this is how it is now. So this has been implemented in Babylon in the final form, right? And yeah, from here we'll move on to the dev side. Miran, I've seen your question. We'll address that in AMA. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, on the dev side, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't
Okay,
see you,
cool.
but we can hear you.
Yeah, because since my camera's not working, I just wanted to make sure.
No problem.
Yeah, on the dev side, we're integrating the racing workflow. We figured out a bit of an issue, a disconnect between the information that we needed to have in the front end to be able to do the whole racing workflow and what had been delivered. So there's been a lot of back and forth, little fixes and upgrades to the racing workflow so that we can integrate in the UI. That was kind of expected. Little adjustments are always necessary when you integrate code that's been built in silos. Basically, the backend was built separately from the front end, even though we had a plan. So just a few days to do the integration. That should be fine. So we're very close to sending the horses in the contract from the UI and having the race results and getting the horse back. So there will not be 3D visualization in the first integration. 3D visualization is being finalized, and that's going to be integrated after.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Marketing.
Yeah, so a
Lot
few
of marketing.
things on the marketing side. So first of all is the Christmas Invitational event, which will be next Sunday. We will have a few attractions here. We'll have the winner's race and the loser's race, or wooden spoons race, right? So the slowest horses were the slowest wins, with some extra prizes, NFT prizes. Registration has been closed. We are still finalizing some small details there because I think we got like an uneven number in some of them. So we'll update on this, but that should be finalized. We'll also have the Christmas Deluxe skin giveaway on December 13th. So check our Twitter. There will be some retweet, follow, etc. kind of contests. Those skins, just as a reminder, were created last year for Christmas and are extremely limited. I forgot the number. Was it 10? Do you remember?
I think it's a bit more, 20 maybe.
Oh, maybe, but like this is quite rare. So we'll be giving one of those. And then we have the second mint anniversary on the 18th December. We'll do some small raffle giveaway for the owners. So obviously those who actually are part of our ecosystem. And then on the next slide, just a small reminder, as you probably know, we've been working with the Risk game. The game is not out yet, but they asked us in quite a few other projects if we wanted to be a part, if we want to own, to be represented on the map, which we say yes, why not? We are in Canada together with Nick, who is there. And as part of that, they also included the Equine logo, as you can see on one of the attributes for their current mint, the 4 horsemen, which will be involved in the game as well. So that's kind of cool. We're looking forward to seeing how this develops further, and we'll be working with them a bit more as the project progresses.
It's actually the first time I see the assets, and I like the representation of the coin polo almost. Derivation.
Almost. Yeah. We had a white polos before.
It says 20 Christmas skins. That was right. So I just checked JPEG.
Fine.
Make sure. All right. Okay, so we go to AMA, right? Let's take these. First of all, before I forget, there was one in chat from Iran. Can you say a little bit more about team changes, as you mentioned? It was our 3D dev, the Babylon dev, who went on to work on another project. Unfortunately, got busy with that project. So we've already onboarded about a month and a half ago, if I'm not mistaken, another Babylon dev, but we've transferred them now to being the main custodian, let's say, of the Babylon code. So that shift has needed a bit of an adjustment, but I think we already passed that obstacle and already gotten back to close to full speed. So that's that. In light of the presence of established competitors like Zedrun and PhotoFinish, how has Equine leveraged its position as a later entrant to learn from their successes and mistakes? Can you highlight any strategic changes or unique features Equine has implemented to differentiate itself? Actually, I think Zedrun, has been established very well before we started. At least we released Equine, right? And when we first were ideating Equine, we were not aware of its presence, but partly through, let's say, very early on, we were made aware of it, and I think it influenced a little bit some of our decisions from the beginning, as in we've not really had to shift much from that. We identified our core realization basically is that a horse racing game using the blockchain can just be much more. Our concept is that it can be much more, it can be more detailed, and it can be more true to reality, which is where we've taken this semi-realistic, let's say, approach to design of the game. On the photo finish side of things, I think they've existed also before, actually even before Zedrun existed, but not in its current form. And I think before they had released their photo finish live version, we were actually surprised to see that some of the things we had announced or shared started to show up on photo finish's game design decisions after we had shared them. And I'm not really sure that might have been a coincidence, but things like horses living 18 years, a year being a month, the life cycle and horses dying, and these concepts were announced by us way before. So finding that in a pattern was a bit interesting, but we're not in a position to really, let's say, change because of that, or to even, let's say, take it negatively. It's fine. I think it's a form of flattery if it wasn't a coincidence, and if it was, we'll accept that. Now, if you talk about strategic changes or unique features, I say we're already differentiated in a few ways. I think each one of us is started or have been on their path of design, separate path of design, and I think the game design is just different for each of them, and that sets us apart. I think there will be a test, I think, for all of us, and there is a design aspect, there is an operational aspect, and I think the operational aspect is also critical. So we'll have to basically keep up with the user acquisition and really taking off with the project once it's off. But again, it's a challenge we're ready to take up. I would say superior experience will be better to judge when the user experience is full, but I think we can already see, and we've known by looking at all of the existing, let's say, games out there, we can know, let's say, the strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons of for example, some choices we've made, including the technology, including how we've chosen to use and leverage the blockchain, including how we're using the race viewing, let's say, solution. So we'll see how that pans out, but we're pretty confident in the core product and how we've built it out. And I think once we're off and running, we also have lots of room to pivot and kind of move around and navigate the post-release, let's say, life for Equine. But it's a really good question. Next question is, if Equine experiences significant growth in popularity, does the team have the capability to scale up? Yes, of course. Acquiring additional resources, funding, and developers, definitely. And then this expansion would be essential to accelerate the release of updates and enhancements for the project. Yes, indeed. And I'll say this. When we minted Equine almost 2 years ago, it was a very successful mint with thanks to all those who participated back then and those who have been continuing to support the project. And we were on a very different budget from what we have now. Obviously, we're also at a ADA that was more than $1 worth. And we were really hungry and ambitious to get this done really quickly. Obviously, you start reaching some obstacles of reality, and you start seeing contractor costs and how they can add up, and seeing the some of the, let's say, complexity that you face when you face this kind of project, and that has led us to, let's say, a bit more careful spending. Now, with that in mind, I would say our focus right now is to reach that release phase. Once we reach that release phase, our focus is to start scaling. And obviously, we believe in there being a huge potential to scale up to beyond the release phase and beyond the existing audience. And yeah, indeed, we would need to scale up. And right now we have, the good thing is that we've gotten a chance to transition. Like, we're not going and being shocked from one state to the other, but rather we're transitioning through this organically. We're moving from less contractor and more in-house, or rather less third party and more in-house. And we already have our own in-house dev. We already have our own Babylon dev. And we're working through, we have our game design specialist with Craig on, we have our marketing, and we're building through that. Now, the question is, how do we scale up and when do we scale up? I would say I keep bothering our development team and Nick specifically on, does it make sense to add more resources now? Shall we hire one more dev, for example, in this aspect or the other? Usually the answer is no, as in it wouldn't benefit us that much to pay more to have one more person. But the moment that starts making sense, you're going to see that happening. And we're just trying to be careful to make sure that we survive and we actually get there and released and running, versus being too ambitious and actually running out of funds. So that's the main answer. But yes, we are interested, and I think we have a segue to the next question, where this was talking about funding. And then here's, as Equine nears completion, the likelihood of diminished funds raises speculation about the pursuit of private funding. What are your plans in this regard? Is it likely that private funding would coincide with the token launch? So we are proud to say that we were a community plus self-funded. So we started off actually self-funded before the sale. After the sale, the sale, let's say, results were driving the funding. And we actually hit, let's say, very diminished funds at some points. And we've successfully raised funding through private funding in separate, let's say, incidents, but they were always very, very limited, very close circle, let's say, funding, mostly within the team itself. So that has been done. And we've also pursued, on, again, very limited scale funding opportunities, but we haven't taken those forward. So we are keen to also consider when we need it, but I would say, given the current, let's say, circumstances, it seems that our runway is in a much, much better situation than it was in the past months, which is what I was trying to allude to, I'd say, by saying we've come across, or already, I'd say, surpassed the biggest obstacles. I think we, at least, one of the things that keep us awake is the threat of survival. And I think when that is out of the way, we're in a much, much better position to worry about things like, let's say, optimizing efficiency and optimizing basically the work performance and rates. So I think we're already past those, let's say, darker periods, and we're not in that, let's say, concern. However, what are our plans in regards to private funding? I would say when and if it makes sense, and it's actually an open invitation. If somebody knows a connection for private funding that is reasonable, large enough, and worthwhile, I mean, we're open to consider that. Obviously, we're more keen to consider this when we are in a release stage where we have platform working with people already on it. But we're open to a discussion, and we're always keen to hear for opportunities, especially if they drive this project to reach its full potential. This question is a bit more technical in nature. It says a hacker recently brought down Photo Finish Live, I think, through a DDoS. Will Equine be more resilient? And we said let's take a look, but then we hit the slide. So let's just address this as is. I think from what I've seen, I think there was a ransom demanded, and that was used to kind of demand more. And
yeah, so maybe
That's not
quickly, what happened is
Yeah.
someone found a hole in the code based on at least on their comments, and demanded for ETH, so $8,000. The team obviously thanked him for finding the exploit and fixing it, and offered $1,000 thank you reward for finding it. And that person came back, said that they want more, and started the DDoS attack, which right now I understand was reported to FBI, and it's being addressed as much as possible.
Yeah. So DDoS attack, I think, are not a novel form of attack. I think the fact that we're secured on at least the most important transactions are ones that happen on the blockchain. So we're naturally secured by that before than anything else. And you talk about the website itself, etc. Standard security measures are applied. So I think by nature of us having the main, let's say, elements of the engine, and I'd say the game rather, hosted on the NFTs and all the transactions having to need our key, I think it's naturally more secure. Nick, do you have any comments on Equin's resilience?
No, I'm a dev. I wouldn't say I'm a cybersecurity expert. That would be dumb. We're gonna consult when we launch the full-scale website to be sure that we're doing the right things. I know that some of the services we're using on Amazon web services come with DDoS, some kind of DDoS protection, but I wouldn't presume to know exactly how to do this properly. So we're definitely gonna get a specialist when we're ready to launch the full-scale mainnet launch.
Good. I appreciate the transparency. In my mind, devs and cybersecurity experts are the same, but I apologize.
No, so cybersecurity is its own field, and you have to be a cybersecurity expert and do only that if you want to be competent, because it's a race, right, between hackers and cybersecurity experts. So hackers are always figuring out new ways, and cybersecurity expert always figuring out new patches and new fixes. So you have to do only that to be a cybersecurity expert. It's a full-time thing.
You're absolutely right. I think it was just a moment of negligence. We get from Troy a comment here. He says, I think Iraz is a cybersecurity expert from our community. So might have a chat and see if there's anything there.
I'm sure he would have been... I'm sure he's happy of what I'm saying, and he agrees that it's a full-time thing, and he's glad I'm not impersonating a cybersecurity expert when I'm not.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good, and it clarifies, I think, that this is an important step to take as well. Next question, I say, I'm curious if the skins will be usable in the game upon release. I recognize it is a novelty part of the game, but I really want to see a zebra or a zebra racing against a donkey, and we really want to see that too. It's a good question, and good to also set expectations. So we made a call internally that if skins are going to hold back the release, we're not going to hold back the release for skins. Right? That's the call that we made. Now, do we care about skins? Are we going to support them? Yes, absolutely. Do we want to support them at release if we can without delaying stuff? Yes. I think it's looking a little less likely, but that we can support them from the first release or from the first season, I would say. But we will, let's say, support them as soon as we can. I think jockey skins are more likely to be supported sooner rather than later, only because it's easier to, let's say, make them compatible, as in making sure that the rider animations can work on a thoroughbred horse, because the matrix, or let's say the range of combinations between, if we support both the jockey and the horse skins, is so huge. Showing them next to each other is one thing, but then making sure that a larger size jockey can be compatible riding a smaller size horse or a larger one, etc., while all the animations look okay, we need a little bit more work. So I'd say in that sequence, I would say first we want to support. There was discussion of whether we'll even support horses without a jockey, and I said that is a push that we'll try to make sure that which is what we're doing now, right? To make sure that we have at least the standard jockeys visible. That would, I think, ruin the visuals of the game if we don't have any jockeys on in the beginning. And then the next step will be supporting jockey skins, all of them. And then once we have horse skins also supported, we'll have the full spectrum. But good question. And the next question was, can you explain how minting and burning are used in the racing smart contract? I think the short answer, I'll say it for you, Nick, if you don't mind. I think in our version of the racing smart contract, it is not, minting and burning are not applicable. This visual, I believe, was from our stream about smart contracts. And I think the visual was intended to convey a general sense of what makes a smart contract. But I think some of them might be optional. So the mint and burn parts are not used in the racing smart contract of Ecoin in the current version. Will there be a mobile app for iPhone, or will it all be done through the web? There's the partly developed mobile app, which we've shelved, and that's about, let's say, 70% done. So once we're in full capacity working and can take on more projects, that will be one of the ones that will get revived into bringing Ecoin onto mobile back again. But it's not the top priority. Our top priority first to get the web-based version up. All right, there's a question about, let's say a male horse breeds with two different female horses, mare 1 and mare 2. Mare 1 produces a colt, mare 2 produces a filly. Could the colt and filly breed? And this question is about half siblings, basically. Same father, two different mothers. Will Ecoin allow half siblings? Okay, you already said it. In other words, will Ecoin allow half siblings? If no, what is the cutoff? So what we've decided to implement from the beginning is to say, simply speaking, I think they call it a 3x3. So basically, if in the pedigree, let's say the parents and the grandparents, if any of the same horse or its two parents or its four grandparents is common in the breeding pair, that won't be supported. There was a suggestion within the game design discussion between me and Craig and some other team members in that whether we should apply a penalty instead of a yes or no. I personally opt against it, saying either it will be possible or not. We don't want to take a route of gradual degradation based on some level of inbreeding. We'd rather take a stance of either it's allowed or not, and if it's allowed, there is no penalty. If it's not allowed, it's just not allowed. And we've decided to do it so that within the family line, if out of the two parents and the four grandparents, any horse is common, then that would not be allowed, if I recall correctly. I'll double check just to make sure. Right. How's the manual coming along? I re-verified or checked again, I think before the weekend, Friday, on whether that content was good to go in text form. And I have a list of graphic designers who are going to work on this one specifically. We have 2 graphic designers on the team, but they're more usually doing our posters and our smaller graphics. This needs more typesetting, etc. So we have somebody who will be hiring for this, who hasn't been hired, but we have a list of basically a few applicants that we're going to hire. So I think once, depending on how long that takes, it's going to be published after that. So this is where we are there. And then, that is probably all, unless we have any last minute questions. JPS saying stable income, aka Nerd Alert, knows everything about photo finish. Yes, I think I like how you've called photo finish with a double N, JPS. That's nice. Probably natural reaction. Hopefully we'll see him in Ecoin soon as active as before. Absolutely. I think he's dearly missed, but I think he's been on the sidelines waiting. I think he's still with us, maybe not as active, but I hope that we have him as active as he used to be. I do though, I don't suggest, if people can afford to jump in and dip their toes, I'm not against it. I think it's I like people being loyal to Ecoin, obviously, and it's part of my tribe. But I think it's also healthy to see what's available and what's around. And I think some people were getting a bit distressed by not having access to what's exciting and happening over there. But I'm not against it, and especially somebody into the genre. And I think it helps. And it also helps bring us a bit more perspective. if our players play different games and have certain feedback for us, why not? That's more than welcome. So yeah, thank you for the questions. Our next town hall will be in the new year. So we wish you guys have happy holidays, and we look forward to see you guys in the upcoming Invitational. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. It was a very lively town hall. I like to see the audience. I see numbers going up, and it's really great to have you guys. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you guys in the next one. I'll be posting the full quality video in Discord and Twitter soon as well. Thank you so much.
everyone.
Thank you.